All right, Jake, come over here. So, who in here listens to podcasts?
Yeah, baby.
If you haven't seen or heard it, this man right here hosts a podcast called Under Pressure. As you can guess, it's about the pressure washing industry. It's about building a business in that. He's also done a successful podcast in another home service industry and brought that over here. Awesome interviews, and I'm also excited to announce that TCHEM is partnering with Pear on the Under Pressure podcast moving forward. So you'll have to endure a little bit of me with hopefully still a lot of Jake on that podcast. So check that out. It's on Apple, Google, Spotify,
YouTube, all of them. Google.
all of it. Check it out. Subscribe to the podcast. We'll have a lot of these same familiar faces on there having conversations about building your business. So I'm going to turn this over to Jake, and we'll get started.
All right, welcome everyone. So we're going to end it off with some questions from the audience here. But just to start off, and I want to really hear from everyone here, a bunch of different backgrounds. And what I did was I pulled a lot of the questions from our podcast that were the most popular episodes or the questions we get the most, whether it's through social media or through the audience asking questions to ask these guys, experts like this who've come on the podcast. Most of them have been on the podcast or are planning to come on the podcast. If I haven't asked you yet, talk to me after, we'll get you on. But the question I want to start off with, which I think is one of the most important questions we have, and the biggest question we've gotten, the biggest podcast we've done, was starting a pressure washing company from square one. So starting from square one, what are the most important aspects to focus on so you can build the right foundation to grow?
And anybody can take a question. Everybody doesn't have to take it.
It was too long ago. I can't remember.
So in my experience, and in my opinion, I'm going to give you the exact answer you don't want to hear. I think if I were to start from scratch, I'll give you an example. So if you take billionaires or multimillionaires who lose it all, how long does it take them to get back to where they're?
Fast.
They're usually fast, 12 months. You know, I think Grant Cardone, they dropped him off in New Mexico with like $100, and in 90 days he got a $5 million business, and he couldn't use his name. So the idea of that, I think, is as you grow in business, you get more experience, and you realize the things that slowed you down were things like core values, procedures, SOPs, things of that nature. And that sounds, you know, really tough to figure out how to do it. And so I went to a mentor of mine in California, and he had a $40 million company, and I thought, I'm going to learn all these SOPs and all these procedures and all this. I wonder what software he's using. I get there and he's using Google Documents, Google Calendar, and everything's just wrote out, just normal, just a regular process. And so what I learned was that as far as processes go, just whatever you're doing. Like, you wake up in the morning, you put the toothpaste on the toothbrush, you brush your teeth, you spit, you rinse your mouth out. It's as simple as that. Whatever it is, the job that you're doing, write the steps down, and that may not be the best SOP or procedure, but you have one. And now that problem's taken care of. And I think probably the most important thing for us has been core values. And I always thought they were dumb, and they didn't. Why in the world do we have core values? This is just a marketing thing. But what I learned was, as you try to grow employees, and I'll raise your hand if you've got a knucklehead or have ever had or may eventually hire a knucklehead in your company. We've all had people. And how many times also have you seen somebody in your company that maybe is a knucklehead, but you said, man, this guy's got so much potential. This lady has so much potential. If I were that person, I would do so much better. And I had that problem over and over. And anytime a behavior would come up in my company that I didn't like or that I didn't want, if you say something, a lot of people would think I was attacking them personally. Hey, when you backed the truck into the lake, I'm not too happy about that, and they'll get their feelings hurt. And so what core values allows you to do, it's your standards that you live by. It's your personal values or the values you want represented in your company. And so, for example, if you have one that is take initiative, you roll into work and your people are on the cell phone or they're, Facebooking or they're not doing something, you can say, hey, nobody took initiative here. Were you living up to our core values here when you made this decision? Were you leading by example? Were you, whatever the things are, did you do the right thing here? Something as simple as that could be do the right thing. But when you have the core value in place, you can say, you're not attacking the person, now you're attacking the behavior, and you can separate it. And then when that happens, now also when somebody takes initiative to do something, you can go, all right, Joe took initiative over here, he's doing great, he gets a Starbucks card, or he gets a pat on the back, or he gets a new hat, or whatever, and then you can start rewarding behavior you want, and in, I don't know, reprimanding, whatever, identifying the behaviors you don't want. So I think core values, probably the number one thing that has helped me go faster.
I just want the mic back. Yeah, I do too. Now I'll pass it on to you. But yeah, just to like piggyback on what he was saying, the same kind of thing. I think if there's one thing that you need when you first get started and to add to core values is your MVVC. You need to know your mission, your vision, your values, and your culture. And it's not just for something that your employees are going to benefit from down the road or going to help you. It's something you desperately need. If you don't know who you are, why you're in business, and where you're going, you will forget. If there's one thing that happens to entrepreneurs as they grow, and I've been through this, is you get 6 months down the road and you see a shiny penny or something seems difficult and you start veering off. Ooh, maybe that was a little hard. Let's go a little bit this way or a little bit that way. And next thing you know, you're just going in circles. You need something that reminds you every day why you're getting up and fighting and pushing through the wall. So that will set it. It'll be for you and it'll be for every person that's on your team, and you won't forget, and you'll be able to kind of go after it day by day, month by month, until you hit it. And it's got to be something that you're willing to fight for, because it's hard.
What they're basically saying is treat it like a business from the beginning.
That's exactly right. No, but there's so much, like you're saying, you know, where you are now and looking back, you know, hiring is one of them, right? Put the people in place and the money will come. I talked about that. And so you want to run your business off of policies, right? Not feelings. We're all talking about that. You're going to see a lot of similar things that we're talking about here. But me was putting people in place. That was number one, right? I had the org chart. I knew who needed to be where, but in the beginning I did a little exercise and I took 3 buckets and I needed to come up with 3 positions. I was doing all the positions, I was wearing all the hats, I was in sales, I was in on the truck, right? I was doing the admin. Take 3 buckets and write on little index cards what you're doing each day, like you were saying. You know what I mean? Know what you're doing, how to put the toothpaste on, how to brush your teeth, all those things. Create 3 buckets, create 3 positions, and then hire for those positions. And focus on your strengths and put people in that are better than you.
You know, I think my suggestion would be form your professional dream team now rather than later. And when I mean dream team, it's the professionals you want around you to protect you and to help you grow. So my holy trinity would be a banker, a lawyer, and an accountant. Like those are the 3 people you need to know right off the get, and they can all work together. They probably ought to know each other, but you know, the banker helps you grow, right? Or if times get lean, they help you get by. The lawyer's there to help create protections around you, and then God forbid they also help protect you, right? So these are the people that write your organization, your articles of organization. They help get you registered correctly. Too many times, at least in the fencing industry, I see guys start out as craftsmen. They start out on the evenings, on the weekends. They've got a full-time job. They start off just doing it for friends and family. And then they go to sleep one night and they wake up and it's 2 or 3 years later. They've got a couple helpers. They're bringing in more money. But they're still sole proprietor technically because they haven't registered. And then, God forbid, a helper backs into the lake or backs into another car. And now they're in a world of hurt because they don't have the lawyer. They didn't get themselves correctly, legally registered, and have some protections in place. And now their primary place of residence is now up for grabs because they weren't protected properly. Insurance agent is a kind of no-brainer. But again, in the fencing industry, you see a lot of guys that say, well, I don't need work comp because I work for myself. At least in the state of Missouri, that answer kind of varies state by state. But in the state of Missouri, if you work for yourself, you don't need work comp. And then once you bring somebody on, though, the first person you bring on, technically you're supposed to have workman's comp. Well, but they kind of work for me sometimes, and I really don't pay them officially. So I think we'll get by, and then something happens, right? They back into a vehicle, or they're in the vehicle driving with you, driving to a job, and you guys get in a wreck, and then things kind of get hairy, right? So lo and behold, they wish they would have formed this professional dream team around themselves from day one. And then you add on from there, right? But the banker, the lawyer, insurance agent would be a good top 3.
All right, thank you guys for some fantastic answers. I'm glad I started with a broad question to get so many different answers here. And then I'm glad we talked about personnel at the end there, because that's probably one of the most common questions I get is around personnel. And people always request the question of when do you know when you're ready to make your first hire? So I posed that question to you guys. When do you know you're ready to make that first hire? And then to people in the room who made that first hire and have people on their teams, what would you say about when you know when you're ready to make the next hire?
Right away. Hire the person right away. Get off the truck.
Yes.
Okay? But you want to have systems and procedures. You want to have your protection because when you hire somebody, you want to be ready. You got to have a hiring guide of what you need. The W-2, right? The compliance right here. Ask the seal. I hired people that if they were breathing, they had a pulse, great, you're hired, right? We all kind of do that as our first technician. We learn really quickly when SWAT shows up with an AK-47 and say, hey, has this guy worked for you? Holy crap, okay? That's why we have badges. But you want to hire right away, and you want to have the systems and procedures to make sure that they walk through, and you can get with your, employment, who we use for payroll? Payroll medics. And they will onboard you digitally now for employees. They make it a lot easier to where I was writing out all the systems. We had, a stack of papers that they had to sign, but have those, the checklists and stuff like that, and set yourself up for success on that.
Well, since we're currently hiring, I think this is a timely question. So in the past, we've been guilty of, and from time to time, we're still guilty of hiring after the need, right? So we've got a fully staffed crew, we've got everyone in the right positions, and then someone decides that their significant other is taking a better job in a different state, and they got to go with them. Then we're stuck, right? Because it's maybe not never the helpers, but it's rarely the helpers. Typically the people in key positions that really hurt the most. So what we've tried to start doing is hiring before the need, right? So we say, in 5 years, where do we want to be? We want to be in terms of revenue or maybe in terms of services offered. What staff do we need to make that dream happen? And we start putting them in place immediately, right? So we put the people in place first, and then we grow into really their skill sets. But like I said, we've been guilty of hiring after the need ultimately, but at this point, we're trying to be proactive at hiring before the need. So my suggestion would be figure out where you want to go, hire to wherever that trajectory is. Patrick's right. You got to get off the truck as soon as possible. I mean, that is the craftsman world, and ultimately you want to live in the business owner world, right? It's the whole don't own the job, own a business, and on and on and on. You hear a lot of people say really similar things, but hire the people that can get you off the truck the fastest, and then ultimately hire the people that will put you out of your day-to-day job. And so then you can elevate yourself really to business owner.
I would say fire yourself.
Yeah,
Fire yourself out of those positions, guys.
absolutely.
I can't.
Yeah, some more great answers. So along those lines, now we've talked about procedures a couple of times and writing out those SOPs. But for someone who hasn't done that before, what does that look like? What's step one? How do you really just get those SOPs from your head onto paper?
Fantastic question.
So when I first did it, I sat on the couch at night after I was done working, and I just wrote it out. One day, just wrote a book and put it together, and that works. But now if we have something, basically we'll get a couple of us in the room. It's like whoever's department it is. It's say we get a new piece of equipment or whatever it is. We'll have you, and you. We're all going to use it. You already use it. And you get a couple managers, whatever. Get your people around and get a woman, because they typically type and are more organized, and say, all right, here's what the process is. And she starts typing and say, what do you do first? You put on rubber gloves, put on goggles, and then write all these steps down, and in 5 minutes you got an SOP. I mean, it's really that simple. It's not, an operating procedure is not difficult. I mean, it's step 1, step 2, step 3, all the way, to the end. So I think if you don't overcomplicate it, you can do it pretty quick, and then have a lady write it out for you. Have a good lady in your life. Got anything to add?
Yeah, behind every amazing woman, there's a guy, right? But yeah, spot on, guys, spot on. It took three breaks in my leg to put me on the couch for a while to write out a lot of dang SOPs. So what you guys have with the checklist, what I gave you guys, put them in place. You need to rewrite them for your company, make them yours. You got to be proud of them. It goes down to your mission, value, purpose, why you implement these things. But again, it goes back to the buckets, right? You can write on index cards real quick what you're doing, and then you can give it to a VA, give it to your wife, whoever, and work together to build out those systems pretty easy. And you don't need, if you guys are under 250,000 or 500,000, you don't need what we need as multi-million-dollar companies. Start off small. Some people get in this analysis paralysis, and you're like, dude, I cannot write off. I barely made it through high school. Same here. You've heard me reading. I could barely read some of that stuff, right? But you got to start now, and I know how valuable those systems are now to grow, that I'm willing to do the crap that I don't like to do and put those systems in place to better my company, my family, and my team members. So do it.
Do you know where I can get like a chemical? Actually.
SDS sheets?
Yeah, like a chemical.
You asked me earlier for that.
Like something that they don't belong in the truck or something like that. You know.
So you need like a chemical log or what you want on there?
I guess. I've heard that some people have to have that.
You do. You got to have that by law. You got to have the SDS sheet. So if you get into an accident, God forbid, you could have a lot of chemicals on your truck that could cause a bomb, right?
Where can I get SDS?
So SDS sheets, you can Google them, and whatever you're buying, those chemical places will a lot of times give you the SDS sheets that you can print off and put it in your. You saw my soft wash truck out there. We have a binder with all the SDS sheets plus, the cheat sheet. So if we ever get pulled over, they're like, and it has to be in arm's reach by law. So it's underneath that middle seat, whatever, arm's reach. So you can say, here you go. This is what's in my truck. Yeah, so just go online.
You ask
the guys at TCHEM, anytime you purchase something for the first time, they'll print it up for you to add to your binder.
And this is a huge no, guys. Look, for you guys getting into the industry, been in the industry for 5 years, become, the best relationship with your supplier you can be, because they're going to fight for you. Hey, I got this chemical, it did this, how do I do it? They know people in the industry that, hey, let me put you in contact with this person. You may not have ran into it, but I guarantee you or I, we have. We got trucks in the lake, we got paint changing, you know what I mean? We've been through the stuff, right? So reach out. That's what we're here for as an industry. PW&A, get involved in that. They have the training for you. You want to collapse time. Okay? I'm gonna leave you with that.
You got that vote?
No question. You're referencing training and DOT stuff, right?
No, that's not the question.
That's the next question.
Wait, hold on.
Matt, come up here. You're supposed to be up here.
I'm waiting on this. You don't have a chair?
I'm good. Have my chair. This man needs to be up here.
I disagree with all of it. I don't need that. I don't need this. I disagree with everybody on the entire panel here. I believe that no employee is going to read a book, okay? Operating procedures for individual employees need to be on one sheet of paper, period. That's all they're going to ever read. How I got to that part, way back in the 1900s, okay? See this little spiral notebook? You guys ever seen one of these? I know that a lot of these guys, youngsters with cell phones don't remember these things. These have paper in them, right? And this is not mine, so I won't look at what he wrote in here, but he's got things written in here, okay? And you go out and you buy one of these for each employee. Each employee. And if they take a poop, they record it, okay? And they literally write down everything they do for as long as they can do it. You want them to do it for 30 days. And you want to see, just like you brush your teeth, go to the bathroom and all that stuff, you want to start analyzing what they're actually doing. And from that, now you can create a procedure. And I'll tell you why you do it like this. The reason you do it like this is because employees are like Olympic athletes. We have our silver medalists, our gold medalists, right? And our platinum. titanium, or whatever the heck you want to call it, whatever the best one would be, bronze, okay? You're gonna have guys you're gonna always have people that are gonna perform better. And guess what? If you listen to your people and you actually implement some of the things, believe it or not, they're gonna give you better ideas because they are the people in the field doing it if you are a business owner, okay? And lots of my employees did a lot of things better than, matter of fact, I talk about the one gal that was my first real GM, okay? She was really, she was amazing. And I had amazing people that did these things. Just like Matt said, we don't hire employees. I hate employees. Employees suck, okay? And you hire team members, partners, whatever it is you want to call them. But if you don't instill that into that's what they are, you're never going to bring them to their full potential. It'll never happen. And from the lowest technician level, you've got, and in those meetings, you've got to make them feel what, Pat? Important. And if they can change your things, they're gonna be the key to changing your business. Because guess what? If you think you know everything, just because you worked your own truck for 3 years, you're out of your mind. Because we just showed guys, how long you been in this, Bert? You learned something out there today after 22 years, didn't you? Pretty amazing, wasn't it? Okay. Guess what? We start listening to our employees, and it's simple. Have them write this down every day. It's a log of everything they do. What did they just do? Can you tell me what they just do? What did they do for you? Did they make it easy for you?
Yeah.
How?
By doing it.
They wrote the law.
They wrote the law, yeah.
Now you have to put the key things, the key components into a one page. One page. Who has had a job in here and read the employee manual? Come on, tell me.
A couple of C's.
I can't It's that easy, guys. It's that easy. Don't sit on the couch when you broke your leg and write it out. Because you're going to have to change your name.
Hey,
I've got an important thing to add. So one way that you can have your team show you proficiency that they did read it is teach backs, right? So have them either teach you what you just taught them or what they're supposed to learn, or teach someone else, preferably someone who has no idea how it works, to show proficiency, which is also kind of how we test the SOPs, right? Like, it makes sense to me, but I'm the guy doing it. It makes sense to you because I read it to you, but then I explained it. Can you explain it to someone else or to me, what the process is? I think teach backs are incredibly important.
I'll add to that accountability. If you can make a process, if there's no accountability on the processes, guess what? There's no processes. Because there's no accountability, it's not a process.
That's what we do in our level 10 meetings. We have by whom and by when. By who, they're taking accountability, and then by when, that's the accountability deadline.
How often do you retest them, Pat?
So we do our level 10 meeting once a week, and then we do our people analyzer, which we're actually going to start going weekly. So we're going to test them weekly on what they're doing.
You mean to tell me an employee will forget a procedure? You're kidding.
That's why we role play. We talk about sales.
You gotta be kidding.
Isn't that crazy?
well, thank you. We have a quick question over here.
It's not so much a question, more of a statement, or a slogan you can remember. It's great for what you're talking about. Nobody wants a boss. That's why we all are entrepreneurs. We didn't want a boss. That's what we all said, most 99%. Your employees don't want a boss either. But everybody wants, loves, and needs a coach. And so if we coach our teams instead of boss our teams, and teach and train and find the highlights and let them guys, let the quarterback write his play.
Amen.
Once he starts writing his play, he begins to own that. And it's now his system.
But it's also important that you stop calling them employees.
Well, I'm saying
we have outlawed it, even in our handbook. We went through the whole entire thing. We put team.
I don't have employees. I'm saying most people treat them as employees and they're boss employee, but it's not. It's coach and team member. We got to win the game together.
Customers would call in and ask for the owner, and the guy would go, "He's not the owner."
Right.
And we had to tell them to stop saying that.
Come on.
Because we want them all to be the owner.
Yes.
And if the customer's calling and asking for the owner, and it's them, That's gold.
Yes. They gotta own it.
Thank you. Sounds like you'll love Dave's speech tomorrow. It'll be very relevant. But thank you guys. That's great. So now if someone here is saying, all right, I'm ready to make that first hire or the next hire, and I understand what I need to do for procedures, what do I do for training? Where do I start? Where do I begin? And I'm going to start off with Bo on that one.
Well, yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and say, join the PWA and get everything trained, so I'm not gonna do it. But join the PWA.
All right. So training was a big thing for me. I want to employee-proof my company. You want to do the same because, again, Ron will make fun of me. But when you break a leg, you can't do the things, right? So God was good. I had an awesome team that took it, ran with it, and we did good, right? I didn't have to be there. Do I have an office at the office? He took it. Exactly. I don't have an office at my office, right? So going back to training, we use Talent LMS. So there's a lot of things that you can do. Everybody's got a smartphone. Start recording yourself now. How you unroll the hose. How you turn the pressure washer on. Don't put your hand on the exhaust. Right? How do we fill the machines? Like, it's got to be basic that my 7-year-old can go wash. Or do the fence. Or, you know, to a level, right? So Talent LMS, you can do unlisted YouTube videos. There's a lot of things out there. Again, if you want to collapse time, PWA. Training, right out the gate, guys. Look, we're stepping our game up right next week. That's something you guys can implement. Remember what we said? Learning is for losers, implementation's for winners.
I want to ask him a question. Does he have an instruction manual for the coffee pot listed on the wall? That's not.
So yeah, if you can't do that, you're probably not going to work for me. All right? But no, I'm not going to lay it out, and I tell my guys that. I'm not a babysitter. When I hire territory managers, I'm not a babysitter. You got to go do it. This is your business. Your territory is your own business. You provide, you go out and you hunt it, and you get it, or you don't work here. Like, love you, right? We're going to have a pizza party on Friday, and we're going to bless you because you're going to go do something great somewhere else, but not here. I'm going to be blunt, I'm going to be bold with my guys, but I'm not a babysitter. Like, you can't do it. Now, I'm going to give you the framework for it, and there's the window in between, and we're going to love up on you, and the team's going to love up on you. But again, the people analyzer. You got to get it, want it, have the capacity to do it. Because how many people, you know, I had a guy that called me, he's like, dude, I hired this new guy. He tried to plug the garden hose into the flagpole. Where are you hiring your guys at, right? Now we got to reverse engineer it, right? We talked about that. So you got to hire the guys. We do working interviews, right, to get the right people in the right seats. And that's a whole other thing. But anyway.
When you were saying have them write everything down, you mean at the job site?
I'm talking about from the time that they clock in, meaning they clocked in. They are everything. It's silliness. Like, did they start the truck or did they not start the truck? When they got to the job, did they hook the water hose up first or did they not? Or did they unroll the other hose first? This is the only way you're going to find out that they're doing these things the right way or the wrong way. Okay? And that's why you got to do it. But to talk about what Pat's talking about, and I did it as a young Ron. I mean, you know, you have a temper, you do all these things. You're pissed off because they didn't do something right, but you didn't give them anything to make them successful, okay? And when guys come me all the time and say, Ron, the guy drove away and pulled the hose bib off the building. You know, I said, okay, you think he's a moron because he did that? You're a moron because you didn't have a process in play to have that not happen. And owners of businesses, especially young owners, don't want to take responsibility for their mistakes. We are the people that are training them. If they're doing stuff wrong and messing up, whose fault is it at the end of the day? It's ours. When I go to a restaurant and there's dirty silverware, you immediately think the dishwasher's at fault, right? The dishwasher didn't do his job. No, it's the general manager of the ship who didn't do his job. Why my glass is all cloudy and doesn't look good, or I get some dirty silverware, or I get food comes out of the kitchen bad. It's the GM, not the cook, not the dishwasher. Okay? You guys agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Judy, you gonna answer a question? Don't be so quiet. Nah, there's a question. That's gonna be a good question too.
Well, this just goes kind of in the flow of where you are. But you have your plans, you've done your training, you've done all the right things. Now, how do you follow through with reviews, employee reviews? How often do you do that? What's in the employee review? And then on the second side of that coin, what's the disciplinary action for not following through with X, Y, Z, QRS? And how many times do you discipline? And at what point do you say, this is not working out?
I think I had a great disciplinary type of action. This is that, I go back to that one GM that I had that was awesome. You know, we had guys repeating things. And, you know, they were doing their jobs good. They were good technicians. You're like, man, they keep doing these little rinky-dink things. They keep leaving tools places. You know, how are we going to stop them from doing this? And it all came about because we spent like $1,600 on a $4 water heater. Okay, and we were looking down at the line and we're like, okay, we didn't spend $4 water key, and then we found out we lost like 300 water keys. You know what I mean? And we're like, this is ridiculous. You know what I mean? And so she came up with a thing, and basically she wrote a disciplinary letter out. Okay, and she wrote what the infraction was, and then we wrote on the infraction basically what the employee was no longer going to do this again, and they signed it. Okay, as their first offense doing this. And I'm going to tell you something. When you put that in writing and you have that type of disciplinary action and you make them sign that, I'm going to tell you right now, the first they might have done it 12 times after they signed that, saying they're not going to do it again. That is one thing they will never do. They might do something else again. They might pull the hose off the building or something, okay, and you got to write them up on that. But if we would always say, if you got 3 of those, you were gone, okay? And I had employees for a long time, okay? They averaged 17 years with me. So I had 2 retired 25 years. I remember when Pat called up and told me, hey man, nobody's gonna do this job for their entire life. And I said, what are you talking about, man? I said, I got 2 guys retired 25 years. I said, if you treat these people the proper way, they're gonna stay with you. You know what I mean? So when we did that for the longest time, we never even got the guy with the second infraction. He never did it again. We never ever fired somebody. It was a 3-strike rule. You did it 3 times, you're out. Well, guess what? Once they did that once, all of a sudden their mentality and everything else they were doing in procedures immediately got better because they didn't want to be in the office again, signing that in front of the children, saying that they did something wrong. All of a sudden that person that was doing those things wrong again, all of a sudden it didn't matter. It's just like checking the oil. We had a guy that kept blowing motors and he just wouldn't check the dang oil. One time we said, hey man, we found your truck low on oil again. Happens again, man. Happens 3 times. You're gone. We're not buying another motor. You always check the oil. We followed the process, the procedure. When he filled up, we checked the oil when he was supposed to, and he never did it again. We stopped buying motors. That truck had 4 motors. It's ridiculous.
Question: How often do you check your motor?
Every day. Do what?
Every day. I was asking, how often do you check your motor?
Small engine?
I got 4.
Oh yeah, you gotta check small engine now all the time. I mean, they burn off. They just burn off.
Once a week for us. We do it once a week.
Yeah, they just burn off.
Yeah, they do. And you gotta add it. So Fridays are an inspection. So our general manager, Paul, actually, they inspect it every day. They take pictures. They upload it into Slack or Flock. And then we see what's done. You saw my checklist in my truck. Everything needs to be where it's at. So you hold them accountable daily. Do your people analyzer daily. I'm not vetting them. My team is vetting them. Right? So honesty, integrity, and we vet them every day. So if they have a bad score week to week, then we bring him in and we say, dude, what's going on? He might have a family issue going on. How can we love up on him and make him better the next week? And then if it is an infraction, you write him up, right? But again, we have a negligence policy. So if they leave a wand on a job, they leave a full 5-gallon gas tank at the gas station, they've done it before,
I'm not paying for that. They're paying for it. You can't take it out their first check, but you can the second check. They gotta know you're taking it out. So I'll do that, but again, that's strike number one. We're gonna write them up. But I'm not eating those things. If you hurt their pocket, they're not gonna do it again.
Well, it's just like with one of my guys this week. He called me last Friday. He said, Chris, I owe you an extension ladder. I said, what happened? He said, man, I literally forgot to tie it down button. He said it come off and the car ran over it, a big truck run over it, crushed the ladder. But we've got that culture in place that he literally called me and said, hey man, just hit the check to us, pay for it.
So let me touch on that real quick though. So there was a company in Florida, I-4, it's got a really big dip. Employee forgot to strap down the ladder, came off the car, went through a minivan and killed a family. That's how important this stuff is, guys. We have a lot at stake. As you guys are growing companies and you're investing in people, you gotta have the checklist. Every time we walk around a truck, before we drive it, we walk around, we shake the ladders. Because that thing might look like it's strapped down. The assistant tech did it. This is huge stuff. That's why you got the lawyer. That shouldn't happen, but it does. Don't get me wrong. We've all done it. The surface cleaners come off trucks. Why? Then we reverse engineer. We go
I've never
back.
lost a service cleaner, but I've driven over them several times.
I've had customers drive over them too, where my guys put them in front of the garage. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna do this here," and they walk around. I was like, "Come on!" Everything you name, we've had happen, guys.
Because you always put the service in between the truck and the trailer, and then you pull away and you drive away.
Well, let me touch on something related to that right there, okay? It's all about documenting things with your company, with your employees. I'm gonna use a name that everybody knows, Raymond Burke, okay? A couple of years ago, I was standing right next to him. We got a huge convention, when one of his trucks blew a tire and flipped, okay? And he lost one of his employees. It was a very close friend of his. Now, his entire company went under investigation. Number one, at the site, there's Highway Patrol, one of the SDS sheets. Okay, he had them. Everything that was on the truck, whatever chemical it was, the bleach and everything else. And then during the investigation, the family then wanted to go sue, and insurance investigates, workman's comp investigates. You know, he had all the documentation of the tires being replaced. You know, when were they replaced last? As the tire blew. All right. When was the vehicle serviced? All of that stuff. And he basically was deemed not responsible for everything because of his documentation of maintenance, and unfortunately there was, you know, the driver had some stuff in his blood he wasn't supposed to. Okay? So, but he had all the documentation. That if he didn't have some or one of those things, he would have been in big trouble financially, certainly through the workman's comp claim and the insurance. And he got off scot-free. Now, they lost a family friend and an employee, unfortunately, but documenting everything as much as possible is a big deal.
Yeah. I guess kind of to piggyback on the I guess, cost or loss of stuff. I worked for a company at one point, and when they brought on new, it was a lawn care company, and so they put a value on the blower, the spreader, each little thing, and on the new hire packet, there was basically a value placed on each item, and they basically signed something stating that if they broke it or damaged or lost it due to negligence, that it could come out of the first check, where you said it couldn't be on the first, so it was actually...
You can't, because you're messing with their money, right? And like if they have bills and stuff like that, you take. Now, again,
well,
we have parts, right?
I would say they had it in there, and it was something that was signed and they did, and
Sure.
they basically had conflicting. At one point, they removed it because they had conflicting returns from two different legal teams.
Yeah.
One, like they owned another company, and one company says you can't do that, the other company says you can.
You can't take another check, their first check. And another thing is they have to make minimum wage. So if you take anything out, they still have to make minimum wage. And again, they're going to quit, right?
I think that honestly, I
take
think that's what it
600
was.
bucks
They
out.
deducted them below minimum wage.
Exactly. So you got to know your laws, right?
Okay.
But what we do is I have a heart, right? So if you leave a $600 blower on the job, like, hey man, I need to make this hurt. What do you think? The consequences need to be.
3 days off.
Right? And then they'll be like, dude, I want to pay for it. I'm like, look, I'm not going to make you pay for the $600 blower. Like, it's my fault because I didn't train you. Where do you think I went wrong? And and then I'll be like, I'm gonna cover it, you know? Or I might split it with them, or I might just say, hey, take $100 out of my check, and we'll do 50 this week, 50 next week, or the following week, whatever it is. But you're building that culture and say, look, we messed up. I messed up by not training you. And you own that, right?
Well, yeah, and that's kind of what I was gonna say. It almost felt like detrimental because it never failed. It was always the guy who was trying to milk the clock that would overrun procedures, and it was the guy that was trying to put in OT and do you right and take care of you that screwed something up, and then all of a sudden it made people not want to work harder. It almost felt like sometimes. So
yes.
You have to be, back to that point, you have to be a little bit lenient with it, especially at first, because, you know, like $600 threshold.
Okay.
If you take that guy $600 automatically, guess what's gonna happen next time he loses something?
He's gone.
He's not gonna tell you, he's not gonna know about it.
Yeah.
So you gotta build that confidence up, because you don't need anything.
I got a question, Pat. Do you guys use a lot of tools?
No, not anymore.
How'd you fix it?
Checklist every Friday, pictures every day of what everything needs to be. You see the back of my truck, everything has a spot. So we label everything, we color code every truck because you put 2 trucks on a job. They're switching things, and that bad employee that you're talking about will stick out like a green thumb because he's stealing from another truck. That guy's gonna take at fault for it because we're like, where is it? I had it yesterday. You're not allowed to steal from other trucks. That's immediate.
Yeah.
That's good. That made my job easier.
Yeah.
We color coded everything in engraved stuff.
Yeah.
So
Where do you think I got that?
So they couldn't steal them. Oh, you stole my idea?
I stole your idea.
I'm gonna touch on this thing about him paying for the surface cleaner, or him doing it. So Pat's right. It's against the law to try to ding an employee like that. You're gonna get in a lot of trouble. In our state, it's 3 times their payroll fine. Okay, so if you got caught doing that, you're gonna have to pay them a penalty of 3 times their payroll. That's ridiculous. You ever think that? And by the way, the labor board is a kangaroo court. If you've ever been there, and I've been there. It's not like a real court. They just say, oh, you're wrong. You need to pay them this, and you better pay them, or we're gonna shut you down. That's it. That's as simple as it works. But here's a nifty way if you have employees losing it. One, you can engrave them and color code them, okay? But there's this little thing in the construction industry. We are not in the construction industry, but the law is the law. And contractors, I know that some of these guys in here that are construction guys will understand this. There's a gang box, right? You guys on a job site, right? Where they have those tools that are issued to the job site. Well, does a carpenter own his own hammer, or does he use the company's hammer?
He owns his own.
These are tools of trade. That's what it's called. That's the law. And if you want to issue them small things that they have to have sometimes they add up, man, when they start losing that stuff. Like I just told you, a $4 part was like $1,600 a line item. That was just one water key. So like, what else are we losing? Like, because until we figured out they were playing the, hey man, I lost my service cleaner. I just went ahead and stole Louis and put it on my truck so I didn't take any heat for it. And then that didn't even do us any good. So now we can't even look back where the dang service cleaner was because we think the wrong guy lost it. So we're looking at his job when we should have been looking at the other guy's job. But here's the deal. Issue them that tool bag and it's tools of trade, period. And it's theirs, and it's a cost of doing business. And you tell them, I'm issuing these, guess what they are? They're yours, Jimmy. And you inspect them occasionally, and what do they have to do to come to work? A carpenter has to have what? A hammer. Well, you better have your gloves, you better have your safety glasses, you better have your water keys, you better have all the tools that you need to fix minor problems, because these are yours now. And yeah, it costs us about $165 to $200 to outfit every employee with that. But man, we stopped losing stuff. Oh, here we go again. They stopped losing the damn tools because they were theirs. You understand that? And guess what? Now you can say, hey man, don't come into work tomorrow until you have your tools. And guess what? They got to go down to Home Depot or whatever and replace the tool. Because now it's legal for you to do that because they're you're considering them tools of trade. Okay.
Thank you.
I have bonuses. Most of my employees can double their paycheck through a bonus that we give a month. So if they're screwing something up, they know right then and there it's coming out of your bonus. You know, when you get $1,600 one month, and the next month it goes down to $400. They're going to fix it themselves pretty quick.
Yeah, but in my state, you can't do that. You can't, any type of wage or compensation, you can't mess with it. Probably in South Carolina, same.
No, we can do bonuses, so they have to have the base pay, but then you can do bonuses on top of it, and then you take out of the bonus.
You
can
could
take
ding
out
them,
that, yeah.
you can't take them.
The problem is you're forcing all your people to be coin operated. You're encouraging coin operated. You have to get away from it.
Yeah.
You have to get away from it.
So we saved well over $250K.
Just this quarter, we have saved about $30,000 in credit card fees.
Probably over $1,000 a month at least.
Over $150,000 this year alone.
$180,000 the first year we worked with them, and it's growing every single year.
Thank you, Pair Payments.
Thank you, Pair.
I would recommend them to anyone.
Yeah, just wish I would have done it sooner.
So,
Because it's not a good thing.
so actually, because I did a fantastic episode with Matt Warner on culture and business, and I believe the episode was called Addicted to Business, I want to go to him real quick to get his take on such a fantastic question you started out with over there, of like this teammate missteps like this in culture. What's your take on it?
What's the question?
The original question was, if there's a big misstep by the teammate.
Yeah. So I don't believe in penalties. I think they're dumb. You're encouraging coin operated. You have to look at this and you have to be committed. But I also don't allow the word employee. I've heard the word employee like from every single one of you. No one, you said team once or twice, but you guys have got to stop.
I said employees suck.
Yeah, they do. Because if you look up the word in the dictionary of employee, it's somebody that works for a compensation. If you look up team, it's somebody that works together for a greater good. So you got to start calling them team members. And I know it sounds silly, but we're in a different kind of culture, different thing. They love it. And everybody, if anybody knows my salesman at all, most people thought Rachel owned it for years. Had no idea it was even in the scene. But she owns it and she takes it and she runs it. As far as penalties go, I just think that's silly. I have 3 rules, and documenting everything and SOPs on everything is important. I don't go to your extent, Ron, but I have 3 rules. You steal, you lie, or you litter, you're terminated. Keep it simple. Now, there is a few other little things in there, but I tell them in my Monday morning meetings, you steal from me, you lie from me. You lie to me is a big one. But also litter. I added littering because that's just like stealing and lying. So I keep it really simple. I don't think today's young people want a real You're right, they don't read the handbook. We actually make them initial things that we think are going to impact them. But I think culture is just something you have to constantly groom and work on and make it better. I'm pretty doggone passionate about it. I still am a hot mess most of the time. I'm like, ooh, doggone it, that wasn't very nice of me to do that or say that or whatever. I also don't believe in incentives. I don't have a single, nobody's on commissions. I don't have anybody in commissions. 90 people, I don't have any commissions. I don't believe in commissions. I think they're dumb. If you can't figure out a way to compensate somebody good enough for doing a really good job, I think commissions are just a thing of the past. It's what we did to force people to be coin operated. Whole nother class on commissions, and you'll tell me, a lot of people tell me you can't do it. Well, we're doing it, and we're doing it big time. But I have handed out $35,000, $40,000 bonus checks to people that only made $40,000 or $50,000 because they earned it. And that's the tough part, right? Is if they're earning it, you got to take care of your people. Take care of your people and pay them well. I spoil the hell out of my people. I just did 1,200 pounds of beef. I have beef day. 1,200. It took me a dump trailer and 37 coolers to bring back all the beef. We gave it away. You do beef day now. Beef day is huge, but our team loves it. They show up, they're excited, they can't wait. They're sending me pictures of them grilling burgers. I mean, it's beef day. They love it. It's those little things. We also give everybody a pair of boots every year. You get free pair of boots. Why would I want you to have? I buy really expensive tires for my vehicles. I only buy Michelin. They're the best. I only buy them. Why wouldn't I put a good pair of shoes on your feet? I want your shoes. Matter of fact, one of my team members is calling me right now to probably brag about something they did, but I allow that. I should put them on speakerphone. I should. Well, we got some cool stuff going on. We just finished a job in Puerto Rico, and then we got a job in Hawaii. So I've got a crew 5,400 miles apart, and they love it, and they're thriving. But that's why I believe in it. I just think that we need to stop calling them employees and start calling them team members. And when you start getting that mindset, now you've made the first step of commitment, because it is your fault if they're coin operated. There's a long-winded answer, sir.
Thank you. I love the different perspectives here. Absolutely. That's why it's great to have a panel. And now this is a question that's fantastic for a panel, because I'm sure you've all experienced this, and everyone in this room has experienced this next question, which is straight from the book E-Myth, which is a fantastic book on business. I'm sure a lot of you have read it. But the concept here is you went into this business because you either liked pressure washing, or you thought it could be a profitable business. You just really enjoyed it. You thought you were good at it, or you liked it. But now you own a business, you're an owner-operator, and you're wearing all the hats. You find yourself as a salesman, a marketer, you're a bookkeeper, you're an HR, you're doing all this stuff. So my question to you, this long-winded question, is when do you know whether you should be doing something yourself, in-house, or when is it time to get a third party to handle that for you?
Third party being important.
So third party, so by third party I'm saying, so we've talked about how, so I'm saying basically in-house or out of house. When do you know it's time to say, hey, all right, there's a company that can help me out with marketing, there's a company that can help me out with this, that, bookkeeper, like insurance, yeah, outsourcing, all that stuff.
For me, it's very simple.
You know, once it's taking you away from what you do best, a rule of thumb that I learned early on is once you find someone, a team member, or can outsource to somebody else, another company, to do what you were doing is 80% as good as you, hand it over, delegate it. It took me a while. I was on the truck for a long time, and finally when I started to learn to trust and not be OCD and delegate, like right now, my company runs itself. My company is having a team party tomorrow at my house without me. You know, I barely work. I basically am semi-retired. I don't even like admitting that, but no, I brought all the beer with me. And I'm gonna call it a beer day. He calls it a beef day. I'm gonna call it a beer day. But anyway.
So first and foremost, I'm a huge believer that you need to do it yourself before you outsource it. I think a lot of people get sideways when they say, hey, I don't have time for it, but I do think I need it. I'm going to hire an agency that does this. Marketing's kind of the easy one, right? Just say, hey, this marketing agency, they work with other people that are kind of like me. They do well for them, so I'm just going to hire them, and I don't even have to deal with it. The danger there is you do not understand the metrics to judge them by, right? You don't know what to expect of them. Same thing with when we're handing off tasks to team members. It's important to know the task. It's important to do the task yourself before handing it off, so that you know what expectations to set and know kind of when you're getting the truth, right? So do it yourself first, but I like the 80% rule. If you can find someone to do it at 80% of efficiency of where you are, and they can do it cheaper, that's when that's when you pass it off. Whether it's one of your tasks, I'm a big believer of, I know what my time is worth by the hour to the company. So if I can pass it off to someone for less than that money, one, I'm doing the company a favor, right? We're becoming more efficient with our money. But two, it's freeing me up to go try to do higher revenue sort of tasks. But you need to do it yourself first. That's the thing I see so many people fail at, because they say, well, I don't know what happened. You know, this agency, they're getting me clicks and they're getting me views, and I don't know what happened. Well, you just don't know what they're talking about, so you don't understand when they're kind of bending. You can make numbers say whatever you want them to say, right? You need to do it first to understand that, okay, page views isn't really necessarily that important, right? Link clicks don't mean anything if there's no conversion at the other end, right? But if you don't know that, then you don't know what you don't know. But you need to do it yourself first, and the 80% rule is spot on. If you can find someone to do it for less, that can complete it at 80% efficiency, that is when you hand it off.
That was my question. I seen in the book that you had Angie Lee's, for example, right? And I've got a few calls from them, and I kind of put them to the side. The reason why is because I believe that actually my engine, my well-oiled engine, should be able to generate it, market and generate and have a process for itself to to build those relationships with my customers, clients before sending out to someone like that. But because you're implementing it to your system now, did you wait till after you really build the process to where y'all already kind of establish yourself, and then extending the partnership with Angie, or do you feel that it's okay? Because I was kind of scared that if I brought that in, it would kind of handicap me, and I don't want to scale off of depending on somebody else.
You said Angie, right?
Yeah, no.
There's a reason Angie's List is involved in class action lawsuits.
Yeah. So back in the day, I used to do Angie's List, which now is owned by Home Advisor now. So they're in a class action lawsuit. They send it to other people. So that was back in the day. We did anything to get in there, right? So it's the power of implementation, right? I built the system off of my wins. Every time I did a quote, whether it was, but I found out real quick that it was always a price to the bottom, right? It was me and then 3 other people in the very beginning. And then I built my systems on that. So just start, right? Just start now and then build your system into there, and you've got to vet your marketing. We vet our marketing on a monthly basis. So whatever marketing we're doing, we vet it, and then if it's below a 5x return, it gets dropped, right? But you have to have the marketing stamina to do it, right? Like EDDM, you got to do it for multiple months and then really vet it. And we also do yearly, right? But we're always vetting it, and then we want to trim the fat twice a year. Because you can get locked in these monthly contracts that add up, just like losing the tips and stuff. And then you're like, whoa, I'm looking at my COGS, cost of goods sold, and it's high. Where is it? Small tools and repairs. That means we have to go back and find out where we're getting lost, right? That is your report card, is your P&L. So, but again, just vetting your marketing and that kind of stuff. So boots on the ground, those kinds of things, EDDM, and what we talked about earlier. Start there. Yes, sir.
So, from you have your team, right? A lot of sales reps that you currently have, their life and psych firms that are actually following them, phone calls come in. You have a really good sales program that you have implemented. What would be like your number one suggestion for all you guys to implement those territory managers out to really get them to grow and sell, instead of not just answering the phone on one of these percent?
Yeah, so we start with CSRs, and the reason being is when you're small though, your office manager, right? I grew 30% by putting an office manager in place right out the gate. So I was doing all the sales, I was answering the phone. When I put an office manager to take that off of me, then I can focus on sales full time. I can go out and do boots on the ground. I can really replicate my efforts. I grew literally by 30% by putting an office girl in the office, right? Start there. Then you get your territory manager that's going to do your whole 30 mile radius, whatever it is, and then you build it to the model. Where do you want to go? What are you doing every month? And you reverse engineer your business model. We do a 12-month business model that's on our wall. It's 4 foot by 8 foot wide. I hire off of it, and we go to it monthly.
I think what he's asking is, how do you get him to be a territory manager versus?
Ooh, is that what you're talking about?
Not an equipment.
Yeah, so lead runners, right, are people who just get leads off the company and then they don't generate anything. So we have them replicate. So we only give them 4 leads a day, and then they have to replicate 4 other leads, 1 for 1. So they have to knock on the doors and everything, so they're not a lead runner. I don't like lead runners. They're just, getting fat off the company's back. I want them to replicate. Oh, yeah.
Question?
Oh, who?
Are you ready for this?
Yeah, go.
Okay. So, Pat, you're back on the truck. You're the only guy. You're way back. How long ago? That was 10, 15 years ago.
Yep, it was probably 10 years ago.
You're on the truck. You're alone. Nobody else is with you.
Right.
Who are the first 2 team members
Team members,
that you hire, and tell
Yep.
me the order that you hired them in?
Great. All right, so it was an assistant tech, then it was a lead tech, and then it was an office manager, and I became the salesperson.
You were the 4th person.
I was the 4th person. I fired myself from technician, got off the truck, and then I was the sales
Say it
guy.
again.
What's that?
Say it again.
All right, assistant tech.
How long?
How long?
Immediately.
Until you brought that assistant tech on.
You can do it immediately now.
So yeah, I would do it immediately now. Before it was like, you know how it is. We're like, nobody can do it better than me, right? Right? Immediately. Assistant tech is the easiest person to hire, right? We create a job description for him, pulling hoses, lead tech. Then the lead tech, we got it down to we can hire a lead tech right now in 3 weeks. Through our training process. So assistant tech, lead tech gets you off of the truck. You're doing sales, you're pop inspecting jobs, you're inspecting what you expect on job sites while you're around there. And literally, guys, you have to be the guy with the binoculars in the bushes, making sure they're not sitting on a 5-gallon bucket on the job site. That's what we do. We inspect what we expect, right? I was talking about it earlier, how like I'm always watching ... Like I love you and I trust you, but I'm gonna be there and let you know I'm always watching because I want to do that, right? We do that with our ops manager and stuff like that, and we make it fun, guys. Not like I'm gonna find you doing something. No, I want my team members to love what I do, and they make a joke of it. They're like, when a new employee comes on, they're like, dude, has Pat Pop inspected you yet? I'm like, no. Oh, he will, right? And they're like, yeah, and I'll do it, and I'll even do it in the thread in our flock to say, hey, always watching. And they're like, dang, how'd you get me? I was at the YMCA working out, remember? In the sales vehicles. I got a picture from a competitor and I sent it to him, always watching, So you just make it fun. But again, assistant tech, lead tech, office manager got me to do what I like to do best, and I honed in on the sales. Sales cures all, guys. When you put numbers on the board, you can hire people. When you have money in the bank, guess what? You can do some fun things, okay?
Hopefully that helps.
All right. So the next question here, and this is a very broad question, so you can answer however you'd like. But we have such a fast-moving world now. What is changing in this industry right now, and what do you have to consider in 2022 and onward that you did not have to consider prior?
So the things that's changing right now is, we have supply issues. We have like materials that we're short on. So these manufacturers are making like gutters that look the same, but they're made with something different. So I think I was in Nashville, and one of my contract group, one person I sell to, my mentor, called me, said, I sent you pictures. Look at these gutters. There's spots all over them. I'm like, well, you itched the gutters. She's like, but the same gutters I have. I said, well, they may look the same, but they're not made the same. So what's changing now is, just because you think you know how to wash something, you may need to test it now because everything is different. So what we're used to just a few years ago is not the same now. So the materials are different, they're making them different just because they have to. Just like, what? I know. So even like the machines I'm getting in, they're not the same as what's on my website. They're like, do you have this? I'm like, no, because I don't know what gearboxes we can get. I don't know what pumps I can get. I don't know what machines I can get. So I may have a GX800 with an 8-gallon minute pump because we can't get a 10-gallon minute pump. So, it's just different, and it's just unexpected. So, you're just gonna have to deal with it and move on, but just protect your property, your customer's property, protect yourself, and just test everything. I mean, I get tired. My voice is going away because of my test, but no, it's very important. And with the paint issues and the chemicals, everything's changing. Like the one chemical I said worked, it didn't work 2 years prior. I keep testing it. If they change it, I say, hey, tell me you changed it, and I'm testing it. If it fails, I'm telling everybody it fails, don't buy it. So I'm very adamant about that. I'm very, this industry is very important to me. I've been in it for years.
You're awesome. Thanks for doing all that paint work. Both
Yeah, and she wasn't in here earlier when I was talking about the paint issues, but that is, and right off the top of my head, that paint issue is changing our approach right now, because we're getting blamed for it, we're paying the price, and we need to do something about it, and nobody's done more work on this than Trudy has, so we need to acknowledge her, give her a round of applause, and thank her, because her work is cut out. She's not going to stop. You got a question?
like the way that we've approached this painting, because we have had one house that had this issue. And usually it is a certain color, but what we've done is we just, you know, we're huge on setting the expectation. And so if we set the expectation here and we come in here, you know, then we have customer dissatisfaction. But if we set the expectation here and we come in here, then the customer is always happy. You know, this is part of our training process that we tell our customers. You know, so for example, with the house, one of the things that we're doing is when we go out and we see a purple house, you know, we will say, we will clean this house for you. The solution that we use might change the paint. If you would like us to clean it, we're going to have to sign waivers. But we can clean it with just soap, but it's not going to get mold and mildew off, but we're happy to do that, and your paint's going to be fine. And we give them the choice. And so when they come through, you know, we always have a happy customer because we set the expectation. So I guess my question is, I mean, don't you think that I mean, in my opinion, that's the best resolution to this whole thing? Because otherwise, you're just walking on eggshells every time you go wash a house.
Well, since I've been doing this, I've had lots of people call me, lots of people message me, and I've had several that had their customer sign a waiver, and it didn't mean squat in court. Did not mean anything in court. So your hands were the last one to touch that house. Your chemicals were responsible for that damage of that property. That's why I'm working so hard to take that liability away from us.
Is Len something in your area or theirs?
Yeah.
He's in yours, he's getting sued right now.
Yeah, he called me and talked to him.
And I'm dealing with somebody right now who's in the middle of that very scenario, okay? And in his proposals now, and he's had them in there for a while, it is very clear that he's telling you he's not responsible for this paint issue. They don't care. They're still suing him. And he has gone, here's the biggest issue, in my opinion, not the biggest issue, but one of the very contradictory information what we're getting from the paint manufacturers. They're suggesting that we clean the way we're cleaning, okay? Then telling us that it's our fault because we're the last ones, and legally, we're the last ones to put our hands on the property, okay? And they've got conflicting information coming from their store managers, and there's evidence of this. We have tape recordings of this. You know, this same guy has got 2 separate recordings walking into 2 separate Sherwin-Williams, asking the same question and getting the same wrong answer, okay? As opposed to what their guidelines and what their recommendations are for, because they're changing their language now in their warranty and maintenance information because of this kind of stuff. So, you know, as much as you can tell the customer in the end, if it's a $20,000 hit to repaint their house, and he feels like, you know what, I don't care what that contract says. My lawyer says I can get 20 grand out of them and repaint the house.
I do agree with you though. I think it's something you have to do. I mean, you know, basically the liability still is not gonna be negated.
I'm not saying don't do it.
But I still think it's better. And I'm gonna go back to the original question now because I don't wash houses, so I'm sorry you guys are having all the struggles, but it's not my problem. So the original question again was?
What's changing in 2022 that you have to consider?
Okay, obviously you guys are screwing up houses, we know that. But Matt's gonna like this answer because this is up his alley, being the serial entrepreneur that he is, and the reasons that he has a software company. I'm gonna tell you guys, it took a team of 8 to process. We tried to process 50 proposals a day back in the 1900s, okay? I went so far back, I started doing invoicing. You guys know what a typewriter is? Anybody? Like, you guys don't know they are? And then we got the electric typewriter. That was awesome, man. It was awesome, wasn't it? Yeah, you had to, bam! You had to slam your finger because the P wouldn't work properly. Guys, there's a point here. I did this on Polaroids, okay? And then we went to digital cameras, okay? And as this technology keeps advancing and advancing and advancing, okay? And guess what? Here's the biggest thing I can tell you. If you don't embrace it, you don't get on social media, you don't start running with everything you could do technology-wise, I could sit on the toilet now and write 50 proposals myself, which once took 8 team members. Come on! Woo! So it took 8 team members to do. Think about the cost in that, and now we have applications and programs and things like that that makes all these things much easier. I'll tell you what, I got a lot of guys 22 years in this business, okay? A lot of my friends, they see these young guys come in 22 years old, and I've got the stories. Had a kid in Atlanta. He started at 22 years old, he's 28 now, he's doing $3 million, and he's got like 14 or 15 trucks in a very, very short period of time. Why? Because he was born into this technology. He knows nothing different. You understand? And he started running all that himself. And then when he decided to release to somebody, he hired a third-party company to take that over for him, and then he grew even exponentially even further. Okay? But he took that technology and ran with it and started using it. And if you're afraid of it, if you don't think you're going to do it, and Joe is going to tell you, I hope you're going to talk to him a little bit tomorrow about that. If you don't get up there and get on the social media and start and get over that fear, guess what? Your competition is going to run by you too. It's just going to happen. And if you don't understand why a guy like him is writing this software, because Caleb and them are a testimony to his software, how much more efficient and productive has it made you guys?
We cannot run a physical well.
But so what's that value? 300,000 a year, 500,000? What is it?
What is that? Yeah, I tell men all the time, please don't do it to me, but you should charge people more because it is really, really valuable. It took us from, we had basically 3 salespeople and then an office admin processing.
Oh my gosh, you got the same story I got. You're telling me you had 8 people to do the job now, a half person does, or a quarter? Which one?
Well, so my sister does now both sales and project management. So one person now does the work of, 4 or 5.
Same thing when we went paperless way back when, all of a sudden, the 3 people that we had went down to a half a person. A half. You want?
Would that be the top half or the bottom half?
Half of you is different than a half of her.
I think it's great. I think
a whole lot more.
what he's saying is true. You got to embrace the technology. We actually test everything on my 91-year-old grandpa. I mean, if I give it to my grandpa and he can do it, anybody should be able to do it. And I have a lot of people that say, hey, I can't get customers to go through and do it for me. And I say, well, then you need to figure out your process, right? Because that customer is probably going to be a pain the whole entire way. If they won't cooperate with you on day one, they're sure as heck going to be a pain in your keister later on. So if you have a process, and you do, everybody runs through my salesman no matter what, and then he vets them and then gives them a quote. Well, if they won't do your process, then you don't want them.
Charge them more. We charge them more.
I like picking on Ron.
If you do not want to follow our process, we would be happy to help you, but we're going to charge you more and we're going to tell them.
We definitely have that factor. We charge them.
All right, so last question before we get to the audience questions here. We're going to do like a speed dating round here.
I'm getting female up here.
Yeah, so what we're
You're
going
going
to
to
do.
get a lot of us in trouble.
So we'll do like, well, you know what, here's what we'll call it. The elevator pitch round on what you're most excited for in this industry in the next year. We'll start here and go down. I want an answer from everyone, what you're most excited for in this coming year.
This is a real simple answer for me. The industry organizations have literally worked almost against each other for my entire existence in this industry, against each other. And there's been all kinds of havoc, drama, no one could get on the same page. And this year, we're all coming under one roof in Orlando, October 9th through the 12th, 12th through the 15th, I don't even know the dates, 12th through the 15th, and we're gonna start working together and make a commitment in the future to really make the industry better, because if we can do this, it's gonna make all contracts, it's like Bo said, everybody in the industry, whether you're a member of the organization, you're part of the industry. So when there's an industry problem, it's all of our problems. Do you understand? I don't think you guys understand this. Contractors get shut down. You understand that? All across the country for doing stupid things, okay? And when they get shut down for doing those stupid things, what happens to that market? The entire market gets shut down. So you want to wake up one day with a moratorium on pressure washing or house washing. Mecklenburg County, just years ago, they wanted to start reclaiming house washing. Do you understand that? Reclaiming house washing. If we unite and we get together, this silly stuff will happen a lot less. Houston, they were calling them major offenders, and they were citing them. Do you understand that? Cops were running around with badges and guns, shutting pressure washers down. Do you remember that, Bo? Okay? You can watch the videos of it. Sergeant Dickers, I have him on video. He's coming after you. Do you understand that? You're a pressure washer, and you got a cop coming after you to shut you down. And a lot of my buddies in Houston lost a lot of money, guys. But that's an awesome, that's an awesome thing that we're all going to be getting together.
I'm excited a lot about all the training. I see it happening in this industry. I see it happening in the defense industry. I'm in a couple other industries, and I really think that people are finally putting some value in education. Also, I have one more nugget for you guys. Read the book Good to Great, and you're going to understand what great leaders have done and why they've lost their legacy has lasted so long.
If you want to. All right, just use what you can.
And I can't believe I'm going to do this, andLl deny it in a court of law, but I agree with Ron. And it is something I'm specifically excited about, because we have organizationally, reached out to the industry and not been the, little boys club and been exclusive. We are inclusive. We are working together like never before. And 5 years ago, nobody would have thought that was possible. But it is possible, and the education is also key to all of that, because finally the education that we've created is starting to get recognized outside of the industry. And that's a big deal. And I can talk to any one of you more about that. I'm going to actually go live and do some podcast stuff here in the coming weeks where I'm going to explain it. The insurance industry is starting to recognize our training. Okay? That's big. And that's big for everybody. So.
What I'm excited about is to help with said training and keep educating contractors. I've mentored many of contractors. I've got guys calling me every single day, sending me pictures of their job before and after. And, now I've got some not calling me, which is good because I've done my job to mentor them. And when I started pressure washing years ago, I was going to the free trainings. I think my first one was 2008. And I learned a lot. And after that, we started pressure washing, we kept going, getting education. And then when I was able, we opened the store, and when I was able to give back, and then stumbled across this paint issue with changing houses. A bad stumble. But I wanted to give back and help other contractors so they didn't have to do that. So I'm excited about doing more of the training, going to more events. I'm going to be at the PWNA event teaching, and I'm just excited to see both orgs, all orgs get together and work together and help us all grow.
So mine is kind of a generalization. I'm excited to see our collective industries, the home service industries, become younger. Meaning that you're starting to see younger folks get into business earlier, start their own businesses, start them the right way. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here again, like about training, but you guys are the ones that are taking the initiative to come and get trained, figure out how to do it the right way, figure out how to grow the correct way. The second part of that is because our industries are becoming younger, we're seeing more and more technology adoption, which makes us all better. right? And we can talk about technology adoption being the transfer of ideas via social media, the tips and tricks, just the transfer of education. But we can also talk about our businesses becoming more efficient by the use of bringing technology. We can also talk about them becoming safer and using pictures to document everything's tied down, right? So I think technology is a good thing, and I think that because our industries are becoming younger, there's a more easy adoption path to bring the technology on. I'm excited to see what other technology is coming down the pipe, because I mean, it's one of those things you never know what's coming and what's going to change your business until it shows up, but I'm pretty stoked for it.
I'm a Joe Evers fan too, guys. Give this guy a round.
All right, yeah, great one, Joe. I'll have to think
Not
about
so
it.
much Caleb.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing for me is when I grew up in the trades, everyone was against one another. It was like enemies. It was like everyone was at war against one another in communities. And I grew up in the fencing business, and everybody knew everybody, but nobody would let the cat out of the bag about what they were doing. And so what I'm most excited about is the level of openness and collaboration. So now I can call Ron Musgraves, I can call Matt Warner, I can call Joe, I can talk to people in my own town, and they will tell me what they're doing, what's working, what's not working. And I notice that the guys that are smaller, just getting started, are calling each other and they're helping each other out.
You got Matt's number, I need to get it.
Yeah, I'll give it to you. I'm gonna put free goats on Craigslist with this phone number. Just kidding, Matt. Nobody do that, please. But yeah, I think just being able to call and get real world advice is a big deal, and you couldn't do that before. So I think that's what I've seen has changed the most. And what is the saying around here, Mr. Pair Payments? What's the percentage of collaboration? When industries collaborate, what's the level of growth? It goes up, what, 40% faster?
I'm not sure.
So somebody, I heard it on your podcast, but industries that collaborate, to find out the answer, you gotta listen to a show. But industries that collaborate together, it's a 35 or 40% faster rate of growth over industries that aren't doing that. So I think it's a big deal, and you should take advantage of it.
Wow, that's just what I said.
So we'll do a giveaway for whoever listens through all the podcasts.
Oh, fine.
It's on my episode.
All right, there we go.
There you go. Mark, I don't know about you, but
Dude,
could you guys leave us something, or you know what I mean? Like, wow, that's a lot.
Dude, I'm just ready for the market.
That's right. But no, I've been in the industry, a long time. I'm just super excited to see you guys like investing and more people investing in what's actually coming up. And we're building an industry, guys. Like we're providing, we're just impacting communities and what we're doing with giveaways and like charity work, and you guys providing for your families. Like that's what it's all about, right? Like the craziness in the world going around. Look at us. We're all right here, like, dude, we're rocking it. Let's keep going, right? We want that to go 10 times further, right? In our communities, with our families, with our kids, right? Because we're raising kids to be men and women to guide our nation, right? So I fear for my kids growing up, and to grow an industry like this, to lead an industry like this, you guys will be up here one day. How can I teach you guys to be up here one day? Because I'm not going to be here, I might be here tomorrow. I might be gone the next day, right? So to see what's going on here, to see us collaborate and come together and hearing these things, and to see companies growing at this rate that we're growing in our industry, dude, I'm all in. How about you guys?
Oh yeah.
Let's do it. Camaraderie. That's it. Love you guys.
If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the bell so you won't miss our next episode. This episode was produced by Jake Aronson. This has been a Pair Payments production.